Are you all set back there? Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, February the 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Montpelier Design Review Committee. I will let committee members and staff introduce themselves.
Benjamin Cheney, member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Stephen Everett, member.
Martha Smirsky, member.
Liz Pritchett, member.
I will let Meredith review the remote meeting procedures and process.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. The shared screen is more for anybody who's watching this streaming over ORCA Media. But Frank and Heather, this may help you as well, just navigating through the meeting. At least the things I'm going to say here. All right. So for those of you viewing this meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in tonight's Design Review Committee meeting via this Zoom platform. You can log in using this link. You should be able to just type it into your browser, or you can call into the meeting using this phone number and this meeting ID. If anyone is having problems accessing the meeting, please email me. I'm monitoring my email throughout the meeting, and I will do my best to help you log into the meeting. For those attending via Zoom, turning on your video is optional. Please try to keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This helps reduce background noise. And if you're on Zoom, please try and restrict the chat function for troubleshooting and logistics questions only. Anything substantive on the matters that come before the committee should really be presented verbally. If you do have something to say, you can raise your hand and then the chair will call on you. Right now, the only people we have remote are committee members and applicants, but applicants can also always feel free to stay on and see what else is going on and what else is on the agenda. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, and I would find that out via my email, it will need to be continued to a time and place certain because we have listed the Zoom access as a way to access the meeting. I will now hand the meeting back over to the chair.
At this time, do I hear a motion from a committee member for approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
And I second it. This is Martha.
All in favor of the agenda, speak your names.
Ben,
Martha.
Stephen?
Liz.
The agenda is approved. Unless anybody else has anything to add at this point, we can go to the first applicant for 55 Berry Street. Applicant, City of Montpelier. Come up and have a seat and describe your application for us.
Can you pull the microphone closer to you? Yes, I can. Awesome. Thank you, Cameron.
Hopefully this is great. Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Niedermeyer. I'm the Assistant City Manager, and I am here about the 55 Berry Street project. So what we're looking to do is add 2 sets of lockers behind the rec center at 55 Berry. So it would be at the back side of the building on the right, if you're looking at the building. The building is sort of specifically sort of made with a little cutout in the back. If you look at the drawings I provided, you can see we're trying to put the lockers behind the number 1 wall butt out, so you can't really see that from the street, but it is easily accessible to folks who may need locker storage. Specifically, we're looking for 2 lockers. I included the dimensions of those. We're also planning on installing them in a way where they can't tip over. They would be safe for folks. We would also not damage the brick, but the plan for attaching them and anchoring them to the wall would be to anchor a pressure treated 2x6 to the building in the mortar with anchors and then attach the lockers to the wood. I think that's a pretty good overview of what we would like to do. So, okay.
And if anybody needs me to share the application on the screen, just let me know.
Cameron, who do you expect that will be using these lockers?
This request has been sort of championed by our homelessness task force here, and we anticipate folks who do not have a regular place to store items such as sleeping bags, et cetera, will use these.
Do they have key locks or combination locks?
These ones can be made with both. We would anticipate, well, we haven't quite figured out the implementation of this yet, but we
Okay.
anticipate them being combination locks.
Okay.
Do you imagine putting them on a concrete pad as well? Or are you just gonna put them on the
They
dirt?
come with feet, so we didn't think that was necessary.
Okay.
It may be worthwhile putting some, at least initially putting some pressure treated blocks of some kind under the legs, only because depending on when they're installed, if the ground is wet, they're going to sag unless they're really anchored to the wood framing against the brick wall.
Thank you. That's a good consideration.
It may even be nicer to run two bys and not touch the ground at all, so that you're not relying on the ground to support them, because I feel like that ground's going to come up and down and the
Good.
lockers are going to sink into them, and it's just,
Good idea. Then they're not subject to any frost heaves.
yeah. Just fully support them off the wall.
Oh, don't have them on the ground at all. Just hang it basically on the
Just
building.
leave them up in the air and anchor it to the building.
Yeah.
And then that way, it doesn't matter what's on the ground, or if it freezes or thaws or whatever, it's not affecting it at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have the technical expertise to agree or not with that, just because I don't know how
It's-
these ones were designed.
It's
Let
an
me-
it's an option. We'll leave it as an option.
Okay.
But it's recommended just for stability of the lockers.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to share my screen on this for just a minute. Just because I don't know make sure everybody noticed that wall there is not flat. There's a bump out to it.
Right.
So
which
they
is-
would need to probably put more wood higher to be able to do that. Right? If the lockers are this high, there would need to be more, I don't know if you're talking about anchoring it
Well, I am.
two
and
down here.
Whoever wrote the description about how they were
Yep.
going to anchor it seems to have some fairly reasonable knowledge about how to do it. And I would imagine that they were going to do it at the top and not at the bottom anyhow, which is to say that no matter what, they were going to have to pad out at the top to deal with however out of plumb that wall is. And we're not out of plumb, but stepped back.
Okay.
And all I'm suggesting is adding a second one lower down,
Got it.
which wouldn't, I guess, would possibly increase that, how much it's padded off at the top by 1.5 inches, which would be the thickness of the one on the bottom. But I think that it would make for a more stable and more secure, and over the long term, a more reasonable installation of those things than having them sit on the ground and then get pushed around by the ground.
Thank you, Ben.
And again, the framing on the wall could be either placed horizontally or vertically. If
Yep.
you've got looks like the concrete base is stepped out. So if you mounted something on top of that and then anchored it in the mortar joints, which are vertically aligned, then you could attach the lockers to that as well. And again, that's up to whoever's doing the installation.
I mean, I wonder if, they could consider a concrete pad there too instead. Or in addition, it's just going to get muddy, I think, with people coming and going, and unless there's gravel, maybe, a sufficient amount of gravel there.
Wouldn't answer if it's sufficient, but I do know that that is gravel back there.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
And again, that's more for convenience and cleanliness of the area if it's not a mud hole when they're trying to go back there April.
That makes sense.
I will say, I think I hadn't seen that before, and it does seem like a nice effort towards doing something that's helpful and useful, and it seems like a nice area to do that in, for its like central location and all of that. So, any other ideas that might be supportive in that general direction, I think is great.
Thank you.
Does anyone else on the committee have anything to add? Any comments, questions, suggestions of any kind? If not,
Just wondering, I just have one more comment about the security of the site. I mean, I guess the lockers must be pretty durable and heavy duty, but it looks a little kind of out of the way to me, as though it might not be the safest place to put them as far as vandalism goes, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think that is a fair question and a fair comment. We have been working as a leadership team to come up with this plan. So our police chief has had a chance to look at this plan, and we are still working out the implementation. But, you know, there has been time for the police department to weigh in, and that isn't a concern enough to prevent us from doing this or wanting to do this. You know, this is a huge need that's been identified by the community that it would serve. And, you know, hoping to just add a little dignity to that space. So I think it's a fair question. I know these lockers are for elementary schools and middle schools, was where we're getting them from, as a school supply. So they're definitely hardy. You know, I think it's one of those we'll try it and see, honestly.
Thank you.
This is something that placement of these lockers has been brought up several times with the planning department as to trying to find a location. And a lot of the locations that different members of the community would prefer don't work because they're in the floodplain.
Right.
So we've had to nix a lot of them because of that concern. That's not an issue here. And we also, in our review, we also think about, you know, visibility. The nice thing about this is it is, trying to remember if that side specifically, but I think you can see it from Stonecutter's Way.
You can.
And because that's right where the path connects through. So even though it's behind the building, you can actually see it from a street if the police actually needed to try and check on that space on a regular basis, or anybody else. So.
one other question, is there any lighting for after dark, which happens pretty early in the end of December?
That is a good question. That is a issue that plagues this whole city. I know that there is lighting on Stonecutter's Way, but beyond that,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I
I'd have
can't
to check the
remember-
back of the rec center.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there is, it might be on the other side where the
Loading
connector
dock.
for the bike path goes through.
An inexpensive option might be some solar-powered motion detector lights. They work really well. They're very inexpensive. And again, they could be mounted with one screw and mortar joint, depending on the light. That's in a location that gets a lot of sunlight during the day, so they would recharge, and then they would come on when they detected any motion. So several of those placed on the side and around that corner
Yes, thank
would be
you.
fine. They're fairly small. They're about this size, and they're black. I knocked the.
Yeah, if you do opt to do lights, you'll just need to check in with Audra or myself, because there's lumen limits.
Okay.
And they need to probably be downcast because it is pretty close to a
Yeah, there's a
residential
neighbor.
development.
Mhm.
So we'd need to work out the details on that, but if the design review committee gives you preliminary approval for a option, then it wouldn't have to come back here.
Great, thank you.
They're usually fairly low profile,
Mhm.
and they come in black, so they would just disappear pretty much.
Okay.
And again, they only light up when they detect motion after dark.
I would be in support of that. It feels like a nice thing to have.
I would too. This is Martha.
Yeah, I agree. Liz?
Great, thank you. I welcome that as an option.
By the way, it's so inexpensive. I installed a number of them on a garage.
Oh, the solar lights?
The solar detected motion lights. I put 5 of them on and it cost me barely over $100.
Okay.
You can get them with a variety of lumen options. Because we've
Yes.
been looking at those frequently over the last year as people have come through with.
And they can either
requests.
shine in one area or they can spread out to about 180 degrees. And again, they're not that bright and they only come on when there's motion, and 5 minutes after there's no more motion, they go out anyway. Any other questions, comments? We can run through the criteria. For all projects, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings. For historic structures, the removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize the historic property shall be avoided. Character defining features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that will characterize an historic building shall be preserved. There's no deterioration features here. Any treatments that cause damage to historic materials, including but not limited to chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting, shall not be approved. This application is acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Any new development shall be differentiated from the old, but shall respect and be compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features, detailing, and overall character of the primary historic building and nearby historic properties. Acceptable. And I believe that
There's a few that are a
there's
little
one,
funky on
there's
this
a,
one.
yeah, this one's a little funky.
Yeah.
Anyway, landscaping, screening, and site furnishings. Projects within the design review overlay district and subject to the landscaping requirements shall be considered the following. Site furnishings, including fencing, seating, other types of site furniture visible from the street or side yards. And again, that's acceptable in this location. And that's all the criteria. All in favor of the application, speak your names.
Ben?
Martha,
Liz?
And Steve. So it is approved 4-0.
So since you're here, we'll have you sign this tonight so that we can hopefully get moving on the administrative site plan tomorrow. I'll just need to know what you pick out for lights before I can issue the permit. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you very much for coming to the meeting. And good luck with your project.
You have to take out my own technology. Well, we'll have to come in tomorrow and like tape it down or something.
Yeah,
I thought it used to be taped down.
it did.
Okay.
Oh, it is, it was everything.
No, we don't have any public in here, just applicants, so we shouldn't need it.
Yeah, just us, yeah, just us.
Just us.
Thank you. The next application is for 132 Main Street, Vermont Program for Quality and Healthcare. Replacement of 14 first floor windows.
I had brought in some extra additional photos, which I took just tonight of the interior for reference, but what they show is like the broken ropes. These-
Yep.
These windows are old pulley ropes, and so there's just some extra packets of pictures, and I can certainly email those so they can be shared with those of you folks who.
Liz and Martha, could you hear that at all?
part of it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yep,
So-
no, oh, it's okay, it's okay. There's this, Bonnie has provided additional other reference photos showing the interior of the windows as they showing the deterioration. But we just have the paper copies tonight, so I can maybe hold them up to the camera if you need them, but I don't know if you're going to need them or not.
Yeah, my apologies. I thought about taking this inside photos just to show some of the broken ropes. So the windows are the old pulley and rope style. And out of the 14 windows, 6 of the 14 have broken pulley ropes. So I just wanted to bring in just a couple extra reference photos. But so thank you for having me this evening. Our permit is to remove 14 original windows and replace them with custom-made Marvin vinyl clad windows. The windows, the sash, the sill, the trim is all to replicate the historical originals. One window has already previously been done in 2016. So this window what we did in 2016 will be the same exact window procedure that was done at that time. So they will look exactly like that window referenced in the photos as being the 2016 window. When we started this project, I called the Vermont Historic Preservation Officer, Laura Treichman, and conferred with her about who to find as a contractor, because we know that our windows are historical. She referred us to Mark Brownell of Marvin Designs, Marvin Designs, and that is who we got the other window from in 2016. So he is actually the contractor who will be doing the work, and he is the contractor who does all of the state historical preservation work. So they basically have approved, our project has been approved by the Historic Preservation Officer, and she's approved our contractor. I've just provided some photos. If I'll get to them, I can just sort of.
I can show them up on the screen if you tell me which ones.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, it's okay. If you look on the laptop there, you should be able to see what I'm showing.
Okay, so right
Hold on,
there,
let
if you
me-
wanted to stop sort of there.
Okay.
These are the two, so the window that you see on the right is the 2016 Marvin window. That is trim, custom made, custom stained to match that existing original, that #1 next to it. But you can see from in the building, the new window, unless you stand right up to it, interior, the only difference you see is the absence of the ropes. So that's what those photos there were showing. Go ahead.
It may just be the photo, but this is out of our purview, but the trim on the interior seems to be different to me. Doesn't have that kind of like
There should
the
be a
edge
close-up.
profiles.
There should be a better close-up of that trim.
Yep.
So the profile there, and you're right, the angle is a little funky.
Yeah,
and
maybe
the strings on this photo here
Yep.
are kind of hiding that the profile is basically the same. I think it's missing one edge. You see those little edges?
But it has a more sort of like tapered in versus a very square corner.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's kind of my bad photo taking. I was
Sure.
trying to get as much of the detail as I could, showing the strings.
I appreciate having them back to back, so it's a hard photograph to take,
It
but I'm
is.
thankful for it.
It is, and I was doing that with a cell phone, so.
Usually when
You
they,
can see the differences, like the existing has the screws where you access the rope panels.
Yeah.
The new one doesn't. There's that missing bead. There's one bead in that trim there. Yep, that's missing.
Right.
Get into all that. Maybe you would if you're going to be filling the cavity.
Yeah.
The weights are in to be
So,
able to insulate.
Exactly. So what they're going to do, the plan is to remove the trim, the existing trim, and save it if we can. Some of it's going to be brittle, some of it's going to break, but he's hoping that most of it can just be saved. So all of that outside face trim can
Yep.
be reused. The interior sash and sill will be replaced because the window, will be a one unit instead of what's now a unit. And then there's this added aluminum storm on the outside that we won't have going forward. So that's the difference in the width there, but it's still the same size. The hole isn't changing. It's the exact same hole. Everything is the exact same fit. The paints, the stains are the exact same paints and stains that were used in the 2016 project. They're all still available. And those are historically, correct as far as exterior and interior. The plans, we did include the plan with all the specs of the window itself. And then there is also an example of the colors. For reference, I included the original 2016 permit, which actually shows a historical 1902 photo. So just thought for historical reference, it showed where that window had originally been boarded up. Yep, there it is. And so now that is the new 2016 window. The plan by Marvin is to come in and tent and replace each window individually. It will be tented on the outside, tented on the inside for dust and insulation abatement. And they will remove and replace the window in completion in one day. Then clean up and move to the next window. That way we can also work in the office. So they'll go room by room and we'll be kicking people out as appropriate. But it also keeps the disruption in the parking lot and everything else down to a bare minimum because it's a two-man job, one man on the inside, one man on the outside. And they can just complete a package, move on to the next day. And they would, of course, starting when the weather is warmer. So maybe in the next few weeks, when it's weather permitting and warming.
Quick question, the Marvin clad ultimate double hungs are usually metal clad on the outside. The integrity line is the fiberglass cladding. I'm assuming this is unless they changed it, I'm assuming it's clad with metal on the outside, which makes no difference.
I think these are actually a vinyl. I don't think these are metal.
The specs do say vinyl. Vinyl clad.
And they're custom painted and or stained in the factory. So they have all the colors. So when they're the trim, they're actually stained in the factory. Oops.
Huh. Well, that's weird. Oh,
It's interesting because it says on line item quotes, line number 1, quantity 1, this is for one window, it says top sash, primed pine sash exterior, primed pine sash interior. So I'm not sure, it really makes no difference. The clad ultimate double hung is a good product. I've just never seen the vinyl clad in this line.
Yeah.
This is the top line window, and
Yeah, they are, well, as you see, I mean, they're $14, $15, almost $2,000 a piece. I mean, the prices range because each one was individually measured.
Yes.
Because some of the windows are even out of by a quarter inch from top to bottom. So each window had to be measured so that it's custom for each window opening. That way the opening does not have to be, modified in any way. It is just removing that old one and popping in that new one.
I was looking at the specs for 2016. I think, are those solid wood windows? They aren't clad? Just curious. It's what it seemed like when I read them.
They're a vinyl.
They are vinyl, the ones that were put in 16?
That's a vinyl as well, and it's been factory painted or colored, so it's the same brown, the interior. And then they're pre-painting some of the outside exterior pieces and interior pieces in order to save labor, and because of the weather, they're going to do a lot of that stuff in-house and pre-paint and pre-stain a lot of the boards that they have to, so it's a much faster assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for easy, much, be much easier to put in one window in a day if they have all their pieces.
I would double check for them only because the description of the wood ultimate insert double hung. Here they describe it. It says factory applied enamel primer, treated bare wood. But
Now,
again,
is that just the trim pieces?
This is I don't know.
sash. That's the sash.
Yeah,
But
this is
anyway,
for the
I mean,
2016
Either one
job.
is fine, but the clad is a much lower maintenance. Again, whether it's the
Evergreen clad exterior.
I think right now we're looking at the stuff from the 2016.
Oh, okay.
So that, the specs on the window does seem to say wood ultimate insert double hung. I didn't see where you saw the bare wood, but anyway, just, yeah, as
So let me just look.
Steve was saying, just
comparatively
check
speaking,
with-
window to window, they were supposed to basically be the same window. Now, whether they changed how they primed pine exterior, and so the new one will be evergreen clad exterior, primed pine interior. That's the difference between the 2016 window and the window that they're proposing now, Marvin.
that's okay. They have the same profiles.
Yeah.
The cladding is just wrapped around the wood anyway. But
As far as like what it will change for visual on the exterior, the side-by-side, photo that shows side-by-side the 2016 and the existing, the only thing that's different is it won't have that aluminum storm.
right.
That's the only difference that is noticeable, or would be noticeable, would be they will not have that hot aluminum storm. If the windows will no longer need them, they're better windows. Right now, we have custom inserts for storms on the interior to help with the drafts
Yes.
and the heat loss. And I have to put up boards on my two windows in front of my space, because when the wind blows, it actually blows those plastic inserts out. So much wind gap there.
Well, one of the things you'll find out is the hollow space that holds the window weights. Once they empty those out, they can fill that with insulation, and then your drapes will no longer blow around.
Blow in the
wind.
breeze. Yeah. That would be, we've had like things blow out at us, like dead bugs and things in a meeting. Our executive director was just sitting at her desk. The wind was blowing that day, and you could hear, some of the panes are actually out of their frames of the storm, so you can hear it rattling. And she's having her meeting and going along, and all of a sudden this gust of wind comes, and this giant dead bug flies out and lands right on her laptop, and she screams, and it flew out of the window somehow. Yeah. So it was time to do something about these windows. We're burning up a lot of fuel. We have high fuel costs.
Yes.
And
Any committee members have any additional comments, questions, or suggestions?
Not from me.
Then I can go down through the criteria for the project. All projects, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize an historic property shall be avoided. Character-defining features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize an historic building shall be preserved. Deteriorated features shall be repaired rather than replaced when possible. Where the severity of deterioration requires the replacement of a character-defining feature, the new feature shall be replaced in kind. Any treatments that cause damage, including but not limited to chemical or physical treatments, shall not be approved. This replacement of the windows is acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Any new development shall be differentiated from the old, but shall respect and be compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features, detailing and overall character of the primary historic building and nearby historic properties. Acceptable. Proportion, compatibility of relationship between width and height or facades, as well as the relationship of width and height of windows and doors. Acceptable. Rhythm, the visual pattern established by the alterations of solid walls and openings in the facade of buildings shall create a rhythm. Here we have an existing rhythm of windows that will be preserved. And again, patterns of solids and openings shall be preserved to the extent feasible. Acceptable. Architectural features, including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character-defining detailing prevailing on the existing building shall be considered in the alteration of a building. Architectural features on an addition shall not duplicate but shall respect the original. That's not applicable here, but the features is acceptable. And lastly, windows and doors on historic structures. Character-defining window and door patterns, placement, sizes, proportions, and original features such as trim, sash, and molding shall be preserved to the extent possible. When preservation is not possible, such character-defining windows and doors must be rehabilitated or replaced in kind. Windows and doors that are not character-defining may be replaced, but such replacements must be compatible with the historic building style, materials, and architectural features. That's acceptable. All in favor of the application, speak your names.
Ben?
Steve?
Martha,
Liz,
So it's approved 4-0.
Thank you very much.
So we're just gonna get your signature on this tonight. This is just windows. We should be able to get that permit out tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it.
And good luck.
Is there still a pen up there?
There is.
Okay, awesome.
Again, good luck with your project.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to be warm again,
I'm sure you're super excited.
Or cool in the summer.
or cool in the summer as well. It's a real energy saving plus.
It's gonna be, the first thing I'm gonna do is to track the fuel. Be the
Good.
First thing I do, set up my
So,
spreadsheet.
Those are extras.
Okay.
We don't need those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again. So the next application is for 203 Berry Street. Our applicant, Frank Celiani.
Them on Zoom. We have
Okay.
Frank, and then his wife Heather Southwell.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did, yes. Good job.
Good, I'm glad I got close. Describe your application for us.
Well, we are faced with a rear porch on the back of the house that has rotted away, and it is sitting on a small shed structure below it. And it is all not structurally sound. So in order to replace the porch, we have to remove that shed structure And part of that will require removing the stairs that are attached to the shed structure. So we are going to replace the stairs and the back porch.
And I can share any part of the application that people need me to.
Now,
Have you-
Frank, I understand that there is an apartment over the,
There
what
is,
used to be
yeah.
the store. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. And right now the stairs, the rise over run is not to code. So that's the other reason why we want to replace the stairs, so that the rise and the run is safer. Because now they're very steep and there's a roof over the stairs, and it is not hung high enough, so there's not adequate head clearance at the top of the stairs either.
Is
So
that
all of
apartment,
this work we're doing is really to make everything safer, because right now it is not.
is that apartment, is there someone living there now?
There is not. The previous owner was living there.
Okay.
Could we see a picture of that? I did look at the application online, but I just wanted to refresh my memory.
So this is from the back. And here's the shed part that's going to get removed. There's old porch, or current porch. And so here's the current stairwell, right, with the roof over it. And then I'm going to scroll down. So here's where those stairs are supported by that shed in a way that's really not working.
Mhm.
I'm going to zoom out. So there's what it's going to look like replaced with the longer
Mhm.
open stairs. And I think, Frank, you said that the treads are going to be, the tread's going to be metal open?
Yes, the
Yep.
treads will be open metal grate.
Yeah, so the snow and stuff will be able to fall through, and that shed is completely gone here, and instead there's supports that go all the way down to the ground for the porch and the top of the stairs.
Correct.
And then there's, this is a little bit different, but this is going to be the new porch area with the roof. Is the roof just going to go partway?
Yeah, the roof will stop at the end of the building.
Yep. And that's what the stairs are going to look like coming down. So it won't also, the stairs will also go down and stop versus
Right.
going down and then turning a corner at the bottom.
Correct. And the landing at the top of the stairs will also be a metal grate.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
And I saw that there was some question about where the property line is. Are these new stairs, the proposed stairs, going to be in exactly the same spot?
They will occupy the same footprint, yes.
Okay,
They
Yep.
will not extend as far into the alley because they won't be making a turn.
okay.
This will be gone.
That's right.
So it'll actually end up being further away from the property line than it is now.
Correct. And that red line is approximately where we understand the property line to be.
Yeah, so the new stair, I mean, the railing and so on will be like pressure treated lumber.
It will be, and it will be painted,
Mhm.
but it'll get a year of weathering before it's painted so that the paint adheres to the material better.
Yeah, okay.
I realize that these drawings are just to, especially regarding the treads, are just for illustrative purposes. So it may not actually, it may actually have this when you purchase the tread from McNichols. On the back side of the tread, you can get a pin that then reduces the opening between the bottom, between the top of one tread and the bottom of the other to make it a code compliant stair.
Oh, okay.
can't have a space any bigger than 4 inches between your treads. And often when you buy those metal treads, they don't all do, but some do, have a metal plate on the backside that is a riser on the back of the tread that then makes those code compliant. I would just check with that that's what you're getting. It seemed as though you've hired Dan Clare, who does a very nice job, so I'm certain that he will do a good job. But
That, and this will need a building permit, so
Yeah.
we're going through this, the project, the larger project has to go to the Development Review Board in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So we've been waiting on having the building permit process get moving until we finish up the rest of it.
and
But Chris is in on the project.
and just if that issue comes up, you can get those treads with an integrated back
Yeah, I like that.
so that you don't have to like come up with some other weird special move.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll talk to Dan about that because that's his wheelhouse.
Yep.
more than-
Yep. He'll do a nice job.
Oh, his work is pretty thorough and he's very conscious of building codes.
Yes.
Any committee members have any other comments, questions, or suggestions? Then again, I'll go through the criteria sheet. For all projects, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. Additions and alterations to non-historic and non-contributing structures shall respect and be compatible with existing patterns and setbacks found in adjacent buildings. New additions on non-historic and non-contributing structures that overshadow or diminish the historic character of adjacent contributing structures are prohibited. The replacement of the stairs and the upper portion of the deck are acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Acceptable. Architectural features, including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character-defining detailing prevailing on the existing building, shall be considered in the alteration of a building. Acceptable. And I believe that's all. All in favor of the project as presented, state your names.
Ben?
Martha, I'm a yes.
Liz, yes.
So 4-0 in favor. And you want to mention about getting this signed by him?
Well, it's not quite as important because it has to go to the Development Review Board. So Frank, I'll send you a scanned copy of this recommendation form so you have it for your records. It's also going to go in the application file that goes to the Development Review Board. Because they didn't include any recommendations or changes or anything, we're not going to have you sign it. Because it's not, you don't really need that to get the final say-so. But I will see you at the Development Review Board hearing in a couple of weeks. Just like you did for tonight, you'll get an email with that agenda link. And you'll also get, in that agenda link, there'll be a staff report that's my summary of the whole project under all the applicable zoning regulations. I'm working on that already. And just as a little FYI, I haven't gotten any concerns from the Department of Public Works, which is the main department that would be looking at the use change. So, but you'll hear more from me on this in the next week and a half.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We really
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and good luck with your project.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Have a nice night.
Bye, guys.
You.
Okay, next on the agenda is for 90 Berry Street, an informal review of a proposed porch renovation. Is someone there? And what's your name?
Michael Curtis. I work for Washington County Mental Health. Okay. The owner of the building.
Michael, I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you. Could you pull up to the microphone a little more?
How's that?
That's much better, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I apologize in advance if I spit, but through the mask, I probably wouldn't.
I find that sometimes the microphones actually have a harder time with the deeper voices.
Oh,
I
okay,
think it just doesn't
Okay.
pick it up quite as well.
okay. So you guys got the drawings from Joel, the architect. So just a little history on 90. We've been here before because 90 got CDBG money through the city. So we worked with Kevin and Drew on that. We were here on railing for the accessible ramp on the new apartment that the new apartment that we renovated to ADA standards. We have put just around $200,000 to do accessibility, electrical upgrade, weatherization, new heating, roof, driveway, new water line from the city line. And when we got the CDBG, we asked for the porch, but we didn't get enough money to porch and all the other stuff, and we had to go back to the well because the roof failed. And so pre-pandemic, we got an initial guesstimate, and it was a wild guess that it would cost 40 grand to fix the porch. And we figured, okay, we can bite the bullet for that given all the other money that's going into it. Well, as the construction team was there, Carpenter started looking at the porch and watching it separate from the side of the house. And he said, well, hopefully I'll make it through the winter. I said, I am too. Connor gave us an estimate, a much more thorough estimate. They went through it line by line. We got the drawings that you see from Joel. And the estimate before we pay for engineering and structural engineering and all that other stuff that I've learned we now have to do is a minimum of $160,000.
Ouch.
The assessed value on the house is about $200,000. We've just put over 200 in it. We've got another 5 or 10 to put in it on fixing the apartment where the meth dealers were cooking, and then fixing the apartment ceiling where we had to go through the ceiling to do the weatherization because there wasn't enough eaves. And if we went in under the eaves, we would have to change the, old knob and tube insulation, which would have been, changing that would have cost us another $40,000. So this is a hole in the ground that there has been a lot of money poured in. So I'm here to ask if folks on this committee have any ideas how we can get a porch that fits standards and not have to lay out $160,000. We just got an award from the Department of Mental Health of $400,000 for our buildings. I'm putting more than a third of it towards one porch. We have $100,000 of work alone that we need to point all the bricks, the fascia. We have to put in a new lift, and $160,000 is a huge fight. So I'm kind of at a place where we're looking for help, ideas. I'm sure that one suggestion will be to look for more money. And I've been looking, and there might be a pot of money at Down Street that we could get 40, and, oh no, I'm sorry, 30. And with our 40, that brings it up to 70, and we still don't need to have half of what we.
Michael, is the existing porch dangerous?
Well, we've got to prop it up somehow. Its sole purpose, its primary purpose is access to one second floor apartment. But it was built in the day when that was a single family home, and it was a very elegant home. It's a two-story wraparound. It's a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful porch.
It is. The pictures are gorgeous.
What is the flooring in the porch? Is that
Something real expensive.
the fir floor, or is it?
It's like, it looks like beadboard.
Yeah, tongue and
Yes.
groove.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where is it failing?
It's coming off, if you look at, you go up where the roof is, it's starting to come, the roof is starting to come away.
Yeah.
Probably because if you go down the column, you get to the bottom of the column, that's been MacGyvered
Right.
8 or 10 times probably.
How it's attached to the ground has been MacGyvered.
Yeah.
Have you looked at Techno Metal Post?
We haven't had, I don't know what that is, but if, Steve and Jason O'Connor aren't going to make that call. They're going to call in DeWolf to say, do whatever. It's and that alone, I mean,
Right.
when we got the $440,000 guess, that was pre-pandemic when a deck board you could buy for
Sure.
$4, and now they're 12.
Sure.
It's,
And so
it's all
this-
these projects are killing it.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Is this building then in commercial use or?
It's 4 apartments.
Uh-huh.
We, last winter, we took people from Good Sam as a transition in 3 of the apartments, and we had another set of folks who we work with in the 4th. We currently have 3 of the apartments are folks who we work with, and the 4th one still has somebody from Good Sam who's waiting and has been waiting for 5 months now to get into one of the Barry Housing Authority apartments.
So are you using the historic preservation tax credit at all?
Let's talk to Caitlin about that.
Or you have?
And
Okay.
we apply in June or July. It's one of those, don't hold your breath on this one. There's not much there. I mean, we have no equity whatsoever. Okay, whatever equity is in the building, VHCB owns.
Uh-huh.
Refinancing a $160,000 porch on a $200,000 house.
Right. Okay, well, I'm sure Caitlin will do the best she can. I just was curious. Yeah.
Great on a lot of things.
Pardon me?
She's been great with a
Yeah.
lot.
Good. Thank you.
Both the ground floor and second floor systems or systems attached securely to the house.
I couldn't say for positive. I don't know.
Well, the second floor, you should be able to look up underneath and see the
Right, yeah.
joist going across and
You
and the
should, but-
band across the house.
But there's some very expensive ceiling stuff on it.
Yep.
So you can't see underneath. What we can see where that expensive ceiling stuff fell out
Yep.
is some old rough cut that's correctly for today's. And it's not, what you can see doesn't look great. It's probably the I think that one's 1898.
Maybe.
Remove that ceiling piece by piece gently and salvage as much as possible to give you an idea of how you could stabilize both the upper and lower. And then you can, I mean, basically it's a 2x8, or depending on the width, it's a 2x8 or a 2x10 frame system, just like you would frame the floor of a house.
Yep.
Properly, well, today you'd use pressure treated material, but you can either replace pieces, sister on pieces, add pieces to bring it up to save much of the material that's good and bring it up to code by adding structural components. So
If
you
there's-
can
but
do
the-
that without having to tear the whole thing down and start over.
But it's pretty soft when you walk on it. So I guess that's part of the reason why Jason and Connor didn't have a lot of faith that we were going to get. What were those things that you?
It seemed to me that where a lot of this failure is coming from is how it's attaching to the ground because it's moving. And there's a thing called a techno metal post, which is basically a big screw that you can drive into the ground and get down below frost. And you can do that. It's actually very minimally invasive and pretty easy to like get into those things. And then you can kind of support the post off of that. And then you're down below frost and it's a well-supported thing. So it's not now
So
moving.
it's not moving that way.
Right. That's not going to help you with your floor joist spacing
No.
or whether that's spongy or that's not a thing. But my suspicion is your main problems are coming from it not having a good foundation. And that's a relatively inexpensive way to get foundation is
You have much
way easier than concrete.
a lot easier.
Yeah.
That'll be less expensive.
Yeah. Having not seen the problem, I can't speak to that, but it is a solution that I've used in the past and I think is a remarkable piece of modern engineering as far as how to get foundations, especially for things like this.
Ben, just for clarity, is it a subtype of a helical pile or
It's
the
like
same?
a helical pile. Techno metal post is a branch of a helical pile that's
Okay.
local. There's a distributor here in Montpelier that does that. So there's a whole bunch of different people.
So it's a brand of helical
Helical
pile.
anchors.
Okay,
Wait,
nope.
helical.
helical
pile?
anchor.
Yep,
Or
yeah,
pile.
HELICAL, and the techno metal post is 3 words.
Okay.
And there's Zach Laporte lives here in town, and that's his business.
Yeah, I was just looking it up.
He lives up on Hackamore because you can see the massive pile of
Techno
equipment that
metal
he has tucked
Okay.
in the woods there.
So that's somebody Connors are going to know.
Connors may know him, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But I bring it up because it's local, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a good solution to this problem
Yeah.
that I assume is where a lot of this is coming from.
Yep. And
And you said you're working with DeWolf engineers?
not yet. I don't want to take on that cost.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, because they would have some good ideas too, but yeah, maybe that's down the road.
But it is something that Chris would know about, and it's something that is measurable. So
Okay.
it's not just like a fly-by seat of your pants kind of thing.
So not like this. You put your 4x4 in. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
so just for the design review committee's understanding too, because the building is listed on the National Register, if for some reason they get to the point where they need to try and demolish the porches, they're going to have to go to the Development Review Board for approval. And so, yeah, it'd be, and the porches are described within the National Registry. So any thoughts you have on getting and how they might be able to be saved are really appreciated. So thank you for looking through this.
The first part is to have somebody just explore what the issues are, which means somebody may have to crawl around underneath that ground level porch, remove some of the lattice and or the covering that goes down to the ground and crawl around underneath to examine what's there and what kind of shape it's in, if there are any deficiencies, if anything's separating, or if it's, I mean, that'll tell you what you need to do is or what your options are as far as repairing or replacing components.
Give me 1 second, we just had a late sign in. I have a G. Kerrigan. Could you unmute and let me know who you are and what you were signing on to Montpelier's Design Review Committee meeting for?
Yeah, I am a resident of Montpelier. I live on Sabin Street. And I was just listening in. Frank Saliani is a neighbor of mine, and I don't know if that issue has already come and gone, but I thought I'd tune in.
It has.
Okay.
So the design review of that has already happened about the stairs and the porch.
Okay,
The application will be on the development review board meeting in about 2 weeks.
okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ben, do you know of any other costs? One of the costs on Joel's design is the hip wall on the porch is too low. And so he's got these
Steel railings.
steel railings, which are pretty pricey.
Yep.
You know of any, steel railings are us things?
I happen to build lots of these things. So, I mean, I have no idea what price you got for that. That is something I do, but it's,
There's not like an off-the-shelf thing.
no.
I guess the other way to ask the question, is there another way to deal with raising that up so it's less costly?
Yeah. I think there is.
Okay.
I mean, I would need to think about it. I mean, looking at the materials of what, what I know goes into creating a steel rail and then painting it and, making sure that it's,
Yeah. What's often, oh, excuse me, go ahead.
getting it to fit these spaces and sort of doing all the sort of shop drawings. There's probably, I'm quite certain, some other wooden alternatives with maybe some
Okay.
sort of 4x4 metal goat screen that would go in there. Whether that meets historical, that's a whole nother question. But
Okay.
I do believe that there are more economical ways to do it.
Yeah, often, those historic railings that are too short, we just put a very simple, like a pipe railing.
Oh, yeah, we've got some of those.
And then just paint them black and they kind of disappear. They're not that visible. So that's one option that's pretty simple and doesn't really detract from the historic railing.
Okay.
Yeah, have you talked to Chris Lumbra about that one? About, yeah,
I
because,
don't know if Jason did or not.
yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
But that's always, in case he didn't, yes, this would need to get some other input, but he might have some other ideas as to what meets code, and then it's tweaking it a little bit to make sure that it blends in.
Now, what about, do we have to cover the underneath of the porch like it is now? Right now, there is a ceiling on the lower porch. So it's almost like, it's kind of like a tongue and groove or a beadboard or something.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but you can't really see it from the street. Is that something we can trim back on? We just have like a regular deck?
Exposed joists, you're saying, that having a
That might be okay. I think.
Yep, okay, I just, before I go back to I'd like to, have some, or I ask them to spend more money.
Yes. But it sounds like you need to remove portions of it anyway to examine what the structural
Yeah.
issues might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And then, and again, what's there is a beadboard component, which used to be their full inch or nominal inch, 3/4 inch material.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, people had something that kind of looked like it that he thought would pass, but anything we can not buy. This project is overwhelming with the cost. It's just been blowing me away.
Yes.
This is not my day job or anything. This is my retirement gig.
Yep.
Whoa.
Cost of doing things are staggering these days.
Anybody, anything else anybody want to throw in? This has been really helpful. No?
I don't know what else you can do. I mean, once you explore the skeleton underneath everything, that'll tell you what, it'll give you more idea of what your options are.
Yep, okay. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that looking at those rails, I'm certain are a significant expense.
yeah, that's, it. Yeah,
Um,
that's what Jason said too, when he looked at them, that's gonna cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
And again, as Liz mentioned, a pipe rail system or they make a black wire that is frequently used on
Cables.
decks,
Yeah, cable.
interior, exterior
Yep.
as well. That in combination with a pipe rail on the top and maybe a couple of lines
Of cable, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
underneath might be sufficient.
I
Yep.
can't recommend the cables.
Yeah, that's what, I mentioned cables to Jason, and because they've done a lot of work on us, for us on our buildings, they know the kind of beating that they take. He said,
They're prone to failure.
probably not a good idea. They're roughly used. They're roughly used.
Yep.
That's the business we're in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask
Good
somebody.
luck with your exploration.
Yes.
Get it down to 100.
I know, such a deal.
Oh, such a deal, exactly, exactly. Okay, thank you, folks.
It's a tough problem.
Good luck.
Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from February the 7th?
Yep, and I move to accept them the way they're written.
Second that, Liz.
All in favor of accepting the minutes? Speak your names.
Martha, I'm a yes.
Liz, yes.
Steve, yes. So the minutes are approved. Does anyone have anything else to add at this point? Otherwise, our next meeting is March the 7th. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And I'll second it. This is Martha.
All in favor of adjournment, speak your names.
Ben?
Martha?
Yes. Liz.
And Stephen, so meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.